For generations, people accepted a kind of neurological fatalism. They believed that once you reached adulthood, your brain stopped growing, stopped changing, and that your personality, intelligence, and tendencies were more or less carved in stone. Teachers, parents, even doctors used to say things like, "You're born with the brain you've got." But neuroscience has spent the last 50 years proving that belief wrong in spectacular fashion. Your brain is not a marble statue. It's a rainforest, dense, alive, and constantly in flux. Neurons reach out to form new connections the way vines climb towards sunlight, while others wither when neglected. This process is called neuroplasticity, and it's the biological reason human beings are so adaptable. It means the brain is less like a circuit board and more like a living ecosystem that prunes, grows, and recognizes itself every single day. Every experience you have, from learning a new skill to facing heartbreak, sends an electrical storm of activity through your neural networks. When those signals repeat, the brain strengthens the pathways that carry them. Psychologists call this Hebbian learning. Neurons that fire together, wire together. That's how habits, memories, fears, and reflexes form. So, when you meditate, practice gratitude, or face your anxieties instead of running from them, you are not just thinking differently. You are building new circuitry that changes how your brain works tomorrow. In fact, scientists once believed neuroplasticity slowed to a crawl after childhood. Today, brain scans show that adults, even those well into their 70s, can rewire motor functions after a stroke, restore memory capacity through cognitive training, or even change personality traits through deliberate practice. Taxi drivers in London have enlarged hippocampi from memorizing street maps. Musicians show increased gray matter density in the auditory cortex. Survivors of trauma who engaged in therapy literally sculpt new connections that weaken old fear responses. The evidence is everywhere. Your brain is a living work in progress. But neuroplasticity isn't just about skill building. It's the biological foundation of resilience. When you go through hardship, the same mechanism that once helped you learn to speak or ride a bike can help you recover from loss or addiction. Each time you rise after a setback, your brain learns the pattern of recovery. It starts associating stress not only with pain, but with adaptation. It becomes better at bouncing back. This means you are not a prisoner of your past wiring. The thoughts that once sabotaged you, the habits that defined you, the fears that shaped your limits, all of them are circuits that can be rewritten. Neuroplasticity doesn't erase who you are. It hands you the controls to refine who you are becoming. Think of it as having a built-in upgrade system. Every time you choose growth over comfort, reflection over reaction, or discipline over impulse, you are essentially installing a mental update. The brain takes those inputs seriously. It adapts, it improves efficiency. It learns how to be stronger. So, when life throws chaos your way, a relapse, a heartbreak, a failure, remember this. Your brain is designed not just to survive those experiences, but to evolve because of them. Change isn't just possible, it's the most natural thing your mind knows how to do. Imagine your brain as a vast web of highways. Billions of roads connecting trillions of destinations. Each road represents a neural pathway, and each connection point, called a synapse, is like a busy intersection where electrical and chemical signals pass information from one neuron to another. These are the routes through which your thoughts, habits, emotions, and memories travel. Now, here is where it gets fascinating. These highways aren't fixed. They can be built, expanded, rerouted, or even demolished, depending on how often you use them. This is the core of neuroplasticity in action. Every time you think a thought, perform an action, or feel an emotion, your brain is lighting up a pattern of neurons. When you repeat that pattern, those neurons grow closer, communicate faster, and become more synchronized. Over time, what once required effort becomes automatic. This is summed up by one of neuroscience's most famous principles. Neurons that fire together, wire together. Think about it like this. Each thought or behavior is like walking through tall grass. The first time you cross, it's slow and awkward, but walk that same path enough times, and a trail begins to form. Eventually, it becomes a well-worn road your brain travels effortlessly. That's how habits, both good and bad, are born. Whether it's reaching for your phone first thing in the morning, meditating before bed, or reacting defensively in a conversation, your brain doesn't judge the content of the habit. It simply strengthens what you repeat. But here is the empowering part. you can repave those roads. If you consciously choose new patterns like gratitude instead of cynicism, discipline instead of distraction, calm instead of panic, you are literally rewiring your own mind. It may feel difficult at first because you are walking through mental tall grass again. But each time you persist, those new neural circuits become smoother, faster, and stronger. This is how resilience is built. Not through one massive act of strength, but through thousands of tiny mental repetitions. When you face adversity and choose courage, when you experience loss and choose healing, your brain encodes that as a learned response. It starts to associate pain not just with suffering, but with adaptation. In other words, your brain begins to expect recovery, to prepare for it. Modern neuroscience shows that positive experiences literally reshape your neural architecture. When you engage in acts that evoke joy, gratitude, compassion, or mastery, your brain releases neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin. These chemicals don't just make you feel good. They help cement those experiences into memory by reinforcing the neural connections involved. Over time, these positive circuits become more accessible, meaning your baseline emotional state shifts toward calm and confidence rather than fear or doubt. In short, your brain becomes better at whatever it practices. Whether that's worry or wisdom, avoidance or perseverance, resilience isn't a trait you're born with. It's a neural skill you build. Every time you rise after falling, your brain is literally wiring itself to rise faster next time. You're not a passive passenger in this process. You're the architect, the electrician, and the engineer of your own mental resilience. Your brain was designed to rebuild. All it needs is your direction. Resilience isn't built by accident. It's not a mysterious trait that some people have and others don't. It's trained, sculpted, and reinforced through the deliberate use of your mind. The same way you can strengthen your muscles in the gym, you can strengthen your emotional and cognitive endurance through daily mental conditioning. Your brain already contains the machinery for this, neuroplasticity. The key is to put it to work on purpose. And here is how you do that. Through mindfulness and meditation, the brain's internal workout. Mindfulness and meditation aren't just relaxation techniques. They are forms of neural strength training. When you focus your attention on your breath, a mantra, or the present moment, you're actively reshaping the brain circuits for focus, emotional regulation, and calm. MRI studies show that regular mindfulness meditation thickens the prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for decision making and impulse control, and shrinks the amygdala, the brain's fear center. This means less reactivity to stress and more clarity under pressure. Over time, meditation literally rewires how your brain perceives difficulty. Instead of treating challenges as threats, your brain begins to interpret them as opportunities for adaptation. Try this. Start with 5 minutes a day of intentional breathing. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. When thoughts intrude, don't fight them. Simply notice them and return to your breath. That single act of redirection is the rep, the mental push-up that builds focus and discipline. Gradually increase to 10 to 15 minutes daily. Consistency is more powerful than duration. Learn something new. Curiosity rebuilds the brain. Every time you learn a new skill, whether it's playing an instrument, speaking another language, or even cooking a new recipe, your brain forges brand new neural pathways. Learning stimulates the release of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, a protein often described as fertilizer for the brain. It encourages the growth of new neurons and strengthens the connections between existing ones. That means every challenge you take on, even one that frustrates you, is biological self-improvement. The discomfort you feel when learning isn't failure, it's rewiring in progress. Try this. Pick a growth hobby that demands attention and coordination, like painting, chess, or learning guitar. Avoid multitasking. Deep single-tasked focus strengthens neural pathways much more effectively. Set micro goals. Learn one new chord, one new phrase, or one new skill per week. Small wins compound into new wiring. Develop daily neuroplastic habits, that is, build a resilient routine. The secret to lasting change isn't doing one big thing, it's doing small things repeatedly. These micro practices transform your brain's architecture one circuit at a time. And here are the daily resilience rituals. Morning reflection. Spend 2 minutes visualizing how you want to respond to stress today. Calm, clear, composed. Visualization primes your brain's neural patterns before the day even begins. Physical exercise boosts BDNF, oxygenates the brain, and enhances cognitive flexibility. Even a brisk 10-minute walk can act as a neuro reset. Also, gratitude journaling. Listing 3 things you are thankful for each evening activates the brain's reward circuitry and shifts perception from scarcity to abundance. Then, digital detox. Spend an hour each day without screens. Unplugging reduces dopamine overstimulation and restores your attention span, the foundation of mindful awareness. Each of these habits teaches your brain to associate calm with control, presence with power, and struggle with opportunity. Resilience is not a destination, it's a practice. Each mindful breath, each new skill, each deliberate pause under pressure is a signal to your brain. We are evolving, and in time, those signals become your default state, focused, balanced, and unbreakable. Stress is not the enemy, it's the signal. What determines whether stress strengthens or destroys you isn't the stress itself, but how your brain learns to process it. Chronic stress rewires the brain towards survival. Deliberate resilience rewires it towards strength. Now, here is the hidden cost of chronic stress. When the brain perceives danger, physical, emotional, or imagined, it activates the amygdala, your internal alarm system. This triggers the release of cortisol and adrenaline, preparing your body for fight, flight, or freeze. In short bursts, this system is life-saving. But when stress becomes constant, when every day feels like a battlefield, it begins to reshape your brain in damaging ways. Prolonged cortisol exposure shrinks the hippocampus, the brain's memory and emotional regulation center, while overactivating the amygdala. The result? You become more reactive, more anxious, and less capable of rational decision making. Meanwhile, the prefrontal cortex, responsible for focus, empathy, and self-control, weakens. It's why under chronic stress, small problems feel catastrophic and calm thinking becomes elusive. In essence, the stressed brain becomes wired for survival instead of growth. But here is the good news. Those same neural pathways that learned stress can be retaught stability. Just as chronic stress can degrade brain structure, deliberate neuroplasticity exercises can rebuild it. Practices like meditation, breath regulation, and controlled exposure to manageable challenges teach your nervous system to stay steady under pressure. You are not avoiding stress, you are retraining your brain's response to it. Here are 3 key neuroplasticity exercises that counteract stress damage. Controlled breathing, parasympathetic activation, deep rhythmic breathing, especially the 4-7-8 technique, signals safety to your nervous system. Each slow exhale reduces amygdala hyperactivity, increases prefrontal control, and physically lowers cortisol levels. Over time, this rewires your body to associate calm with control, rather than with passivity. 2. Reframing thoughts, cognitive reappraisal. When you reinterpret a stressful event, this is a challenge, not a threat. Your brain recruits the prefrontal cortex to override the amygdala. Studies show that people who consciously reframe situations develop stronger connectivity between these regions, the neural signature of emotional resilience. Number 3. Micro-adversity training, adaptive conditioning. Exposure to small controlled discomforts like cold showers, fasting, or physical endurance builds stress inoculation. These experiences increase dopamine regulation and teach your brain that discomfort isn't fatal. It becomes flexible, not fragile. Here are some real-world stories of how people rewired resilience. Case 1. The trauma survivor who learned calm. A woman recovering from PTSD used guided meditation and neurofeedback to retrain her brain's alarm system. Over 6 months, scans showed decreased amygdala activity and regrowth in the hippocampus. She described the change simply. The world didn't stop being loud. I just stopped flinching at every sound. Case number 2. The athlete rebuilding after injury. A marathon runner recovering from an accident used visualization to activate dormant motor neurons. By imagining herself running each day, her brain maintained neural connections to movement, accelerating her physical recovery once she returned to training. Her resilience wasn't just physical, it was neurological. And case number 3, the executive who outsmarted burnout. After years of chronic stress, a CEO began practicing mindfulness and scheduled dopamine resets, tech-free walks, and gratitude journaling. Within 3 months, her focus improved, her anxiety declined, and her sleep normalized. The practice didn't remove her stressors, it rewired her response to them. So, neuroplasticity doesn't erase hardship, it equips you to transform it. Every time you slow your breath in chaos, reframe fear as feedback, or push through controlled discomfort, your brain learns that adversity is not destruction, it's data, it's your training ground. Over time, the same storm that once shattered you becomes the resistance that sculpts you. Here is the truth that science, philosophy, and life experience all agree on. You never stop becoming. Your brain doesn't have a finish line. It isn't a fixed organ that peaks in youth and declines with age. It's a lifelong learner, a living record of everything you choose to experience, repeat, and believe. Here is the lifelong gift of neuroplasticity. Even into our later decades, the brain continues to grow, rewire, and adapt. Studies on elderly adults who engage in new learning, from mastering musical instruments to studying foreign languages, show measurable increases in gray matter, faster cognitive processing, and sharper memory retention. This adaptability doesn't fade with time, it evolves. Think of your brain like a living city. Each thought, habit, or emotional response is a building, some new, some ancient, some abandoned. Neuroplasticity is the city's constant renovation plan. You can tear down what no longer serves you and construct stronger, more efficient structures in its place. The more you challenge your brain with meaningful effort, the more vibrant and connected your inner landscape becomes. This means growth isn't a phase, it's a biological right. Resilience thrives on curiosity. When you see challenges as lessons instead of losses, your brain responds by staying open. That openness releases dopamine, the neurotransmitter of motivation, and reinforces neural pathways linked to optimism and persistence. In other words, every time you choose curiosity over cynicism, your brain rewards you for it. A growth mindset transforms every setback into a stimulus for evolution. Failure becomes feedback. Uncertainty becomes opportunity. Effort becomes investment. This isn't just motivational language, it's neurological truth. By embracing growth, you train your brain to find possibility even in pain. Now, here is how to begin your brain's upgrade journey. You don't need a lab or a therapist to start rewiring your brain. What you need is consistency. And here are 3 simple steps to begin. Feed it new input. Read widely. Learn a new skill. Take a different route to work. Every novel experience pushes your brain to adapt and connect new patterns. Rest and reset. Sleep is when your brain consolidates learning, prunes old neural connections, and reinforces new ones. Treat rest as part of your mental training, not a luxury. Reflect daily. End each day by asking, what did I learn? What did I handle better than yesterday? Reflection is mental reinforcement. It tells your brain which behaviors to strengthen. Over time, these simple actions compound into transformation. You'll notice greater focus, faster recovery from setbacks, and a deeper sense of calm under pressure. Not because life got easier, but because your brain got stronger. So, neuroplasticity is not just science, it's a promise. It means no matter what's happened in your past, trauma, addiction, failure, loss, your brain can rebuild itself. You can outgrow who you were yesterday. You can design the kind of mind that meets hardship with wisdom, not fear. Every thought, every breath, every choice is a brushstroke on the canvas of your future self. So, start today. Feed your brain courage. Train it to adapt and watch it do what it's always done best: change. If you or someone you love is struggling with addiction, it's time to take back control one step at a time. My book, The Ultimate Guide to Overcoming Addiction: Steps, Tools, and Resources, is your complete roadmap to recovery. Inside, you'll find practical strategies, proven tools, and the emotional support you need to break free from destructive habits for good. This isn't just another self-help manual. It's a companion for your comeback, written to empower, educate, and guide you through the science, psychology, and real-world process of healing. So whether you are just starting your recovery journey or looking to strengthen your progress, this guide will show you how to rebuild your life with clarity, resilience, and self-respect. Start your journey today. Get your copy of The Ultimate Guide to Overcoming Addiction: Steps, Tools, and Resources, available now in ebook, paperback, and audiobook formats. Link in description.